months. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Bolaji Nji. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now.
Ashantewa was born on 17th October 1814 Bisiase, present-day Ghana. The daughter of Kwaku Ampoma and Atapo, her brother Afran Ipanin became the chief of Edweso, a nearby community. After a childhood without incident, she cultivated crops on the land around Boankara. She entered a polygamous marriage with a man from Kumasi, with whom she had a daughter. She was appointed by her brother, Nana Akwasi Afran Ilpe.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's begin with infrastructure, as the federal government has ordered surveillance patrol of newly opened second Niger Bridge and its surrounding by security agents following a case of vandalism. It was learned that some hoodlums vandalized a section of the bridge and made away with some fittings. The 333 billion naira bridge was unveiled by former President Muhammadu Buhari in May. The Director of Highway, Bridges and Designs in the Ministry, Omotayo Awosanya, stated that the incident happened a week ago on the Onitsha side of the bridge. However, he allayed motorist fear, saying the expansion joints were intact on the carriageway. Julie, we are not...
At night, some vandals came here and removed one of the metal plates of the expansion joint on the pedestrian walkway. That, you can see, that is where we are standing right now. One of the metal plates is still in place, but the other end has been removed. It leaves behind an opening, a void, which is supposed to be closed by this expansion joint. I believe that measures have been put in place, even on our own part, to ensure that a reoccurrence doesn't happen.
Some Nigerians are so unpatriotic. We don't love this country. And when we talk about infrastructural deficits, we talk government is not doing this, government is not doing that. Now government has done this bridge now. Look at what with these dear devil robbers, what do they want to do with this thing now?
Well, there's a lot that they do with it. Even our rail tracks. Have you not seen the story of the vandalism done to rail tracks? Those guys piled on those reinforcements that they put on those rail tracks. It's still the solid steel reinforcement that they put on the rail tracks. They stole them and filled a big trailer, articulated vehicle with them. So do you know how many rail tracks, how many kilometers of rail tracks that they raided before they got something that filled a whole trailer? This is what we do to ourselves. Look at the one that is just down the road.
Yes, yes. That's setting up expressway. Yes, yes. That's more.
Once they remove it,
they started removing.
Once they remove it, they replace. They remove, they replace. Now,
after some time, they just went.
So what they just did was to now fill that place with concrete. But the little part that they left, go there now. The little part that they left where we still have those reinforcements, they've removed some. So if you are not careful, if you are going home now, if you do not calculate very well, one of your tires will be stuck in a ditch, because you would think that the whole place was still covered. They've removed some, because I was going home on Friday night, I saw that between that they removed
opposite 7 Up.
Yes, just not far from our office here.
Yes.
Because I was going home, I saw one hole, one gaping hole, and I'm like, these people are back. That means they just simply wait for government to replace, and then they go there, steal these things. This Niger bridge, the second Niger bridge, remember I did a documentary about it when they were approaching the conclusion of the project. You can see which we can see the railings. The railings are made of concrete. It was deliberate. If they show the railings now, see these railings that you are seeing in front, they are made of concrete to discourage those fond of stealing these things. Yes, if they didn't use concrete, our people will start cutting those handrails to go and sell.
Bolaji, in Lagos, former Governor Ododo even adopted a style that those bridges to discourage people from crossing it, like Ojota now. Yes. There's a big, long net that demarcates the road so that people will be we have flyovers so that to encourage people from taking the flyover.
Yes.
But what we see now is that they've totally vandalized those road demarcations.
It is very unfortunate, and this is very unpatriotic. Very, very unpatriotic. And most times we blame the government for every woe that we face in this country. We have never asked ourselves what have been our own contribution to the problem of our country. If government is spending that much money to ensure safety of people, of lives and property, and some people go there overnight, go and remove all these things, go and melt it and sell. What does this say about us as a country, as citizens? It is very unfortunate. It's not only these railings that they remove. Even manhole covers. They remove all these things. And there should be a solution to this thing. Well, where do they sell it? If they melt, they go to melt these things. Where do they sell it? Our security agencies should also be up and doing too.
The country that they steal transformer.
Transformer, it must be connected. It must be connected to somewhere, or it must end somewhere. Who buys all these things? And where they take it, the security agency should know. They should do their work, because these things are not taken. Some of them will be taken outside the country. They are sold within the country. They are sold in some of these big markets. So if we have relationship with some of these market leaders, they should be able to give them clean that, these are stolen property, allow the police, But, and I know that if the police really want to work, they can work. So, but if nothing is being done to arrest this situation, it will continue. It's very unfortunate.
You can see the first Niger bridge that's been there for how many years? At this stage, that this one is not up to a year now. If we start vandalizing it, if we start doing all sort of things, what's the prospect that we are going to leave this bridge for our children to inherit? That Niger bridge has been there since when?
Yes, it's been there for so long.
65 or so.
The Buhari regime completed it using funds from the Sovereign Wealth Fund as well as Abacha loot. We are grateful that bridge is completed, and it has made traveling from that Asaba, Asaba to other parts of the east a lot more pleasurable. People used to sleep for 3 days,
old bridge, yes.
stuck on that old bridge, because that old bridge is one way. It's not dual carriageway. So now the expansion joints, the theft of those fittings to the on the expansion joints may not constitute any problem to the bridge, but they would not want to leave those places open. One can easily sleep and break his leg. If it is leg, because it's on the pedestrian walkway.
Yes, it's not tidy.
It is the pedestrian walkway section of it that they are looting. So people can actually look at our reporter standing on that, on the fitness. Ordinarily, if it wasn't there, it's going all the way down.
Yes, you are looking at the
so there's so much danger that they are doing to people by the nonsense that they are doing. And until we make, if you Google it, you see those who raided rail tracks. It was announced that they raided rail tracks, they paraded them, but that's usually where it ends. Nigerians need to see how those guys were jailed, so that the rest of us, those of us in this profession can at least make noise so that others can learn. We can't spend so much money building this bridge, delivering it,
millions of dollars
for people to use, and then it will be vandalized. You know, they told me when I was doing the documentary that they deliberately chose concrete for the handrails because of the prospect of vandalism and selling of. Because you see some bridges, if you are driving, maybe moving from state to state, you see some bridges, their handrails have been looted.
Yes.
The handrails have been looted.
So now you have to call the contractors now to come and look at it to see how they can refit.
Yes, they will have to bring back those expansion joint fittings. They have to bring them back, but how much longer are we going to be doing this? Because you do it, they come back and they loot. So they have to find a way to secure this national asset. We can't allow these people to. You see them carrying some dirty bags. They throw these things inside. Once they're stolen, some even steal the generator outright. You're at the back of your house, you won't know. I saw a guy. He put the generator inside the bag and he carried it. I said, this one, he must have taken tramadol. He will not even feel it. Because how do you carry a generator that carried it like it's high? The kind of they won't even feel it.
All right. The Senate is investigating allegations of bribery and corruption by staff of the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System (IPPIS) officials at the various universities. The alleged action by the officials had resulted in the delay capturing and payment of staff of the federal government-owned universities who were recruited as far back as 2020. The resolution followed a motion sponsored by Senator Ifeanyi Ubah during Wednesday's plenary. The motion is tagged urgent need to investigate the alarming cases of delays in payment and allegations of corruption associated with the capturing and payment of newly recruited university staff. Give us an insight into this, Bolaji.
Yes, it's very unfortunate. IPPIS, that's Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, which is what the federal government feels should be the system that should be adopted by the universities for the salaries of workers, has always been a major issue between the government and the university. Yes, ASU prefers UTAS, that's University Transparency and Accountability Solution. UTAS. Unfortunately, the federal government says, no, this is the one we want. And that has been a major issue between the two of them. And because of that, there has been a major problem in terms of getting everybody on the IPPIS that the federal government wanted. For example, people that have been employed since 2020, when they will be captured, and the salary, they will be captured, and if they are not captured, their salary is not going to be paid.
This 2023.
Exactly, 3 years. So how can someone be working for that number of years? You see, they want to cut corners to ensure that they are captured. Even they are not even talking about whether the IPIS is accepted or UTAS is accepted everything. They are talking about the one that is being used to pay the salary now. If they are not captured there, they are not going to get a salary. And they will want the salary to be paid. Nobody wants to work for 30 days and not be paid. And we are talking about 3 years now. So as it is now, they have to survive. Yes, they have to survive. And they need to do cut corners to ensure that they are captured. And that's what led to this issue of corruption, that bribing people that, okay, please put me there, like the Nigerian factor, the Nigerian way, want just to find a way to get things done without going through the normal channel. You know, and I think another problem that we are having is maybe at the university level is because they really didn't want this particular system, and that's why there's this delay in capturing some of these people. They prefer the UTS, you know, and possibly maybe I'm not saying it is, but it is possible that may be the reason for the delay in capturing some of the staff. But
along the line, when ASU, when they were negotiating with the federal government, they warned that this thing is fraught with corruption. Yes. That this IPPIS, apart from not being flexible to their own work schedule,
yes,
that look, there's something not sinister about this IPPIS.
It is not a problem with the universities alone. And it just happens that universities are complaining. An IPPIS that allows an accountant general to steal more than 100 billion. Where is, what kind of transparency is there? With IPPIS, you never can tell how much you earn in a month. Today, you can earn 10,000 less than your salary. The following month, you can again it. There is no consistency. The universities, and I'm happy that even the industrial court has ruled that it is illegal to force IPPIS on everybody. And they have no choice, except if there is no, what's it called in our country anymore, except if there is no rule of law. Once courts give pronouncement, they are meant to be obeyed. You took these university lecturers to court, you took them to court, and they won. That aspect is significant, that you cannot force them to enroll on IPPIS. IPPIS is fraught with corruption. There are individuals simply using this IPPIS to make money for themselves. And apart from that, in the federal establishments, job opportunities are only made known to a select few. Officials sell jobs to the highest bidder. If they are not simply giving those jobs to relations of big politicians or big people in government generally, they are selling. They tell you, go and bring so millions before you can be employed. So it's been around, it's been on for so long, and now the National Assembly is saying, okay, this racketeering and the inconsistencies in IPPIS, we want to investigate. Because if we don't investigate, these shady practices will continue. We should be able to explain, okay, I know someone at the Federal University of Lokoja, for example, who has been on sabbatical doing research in that is a lecturer in another institution, but doing his, what's it called, in that university. And for 15 months now, he has not been paid a dime. It is not universities that are running this thing. It's the federal government officials. So, led for the Federal University of Lokoja VC, who is from my hometown, and some of the people there, the lecturers, of course they will want to have their colleague receive a salary. The lecturer cannot, you can't even hire a gardener. He has to be enrolled on IPPIS, otherwise he won't get paid. Not even the VC can hire a gardener of his own. You have to be enrolled on IPPIS before that person can collect salary. That is the reason it envisages that only you can only earn one salary. No allowances, nothing. So if you go and do your, the university system encourages having visiting lecturers and all that. Even during our time, there are white people who came to our school. Yes, goes about during that period, you research, you learn more and all that, which you will come to impart on your students. But a situation in which the universities cannot pay those visiting lecturers on their own, they can't pay because they won't be captured. That person will not be captured in IPPIS. That's why universities oppose IPPIS. Now, even public servants themselves, civil servants, also oppose IPPIS because of the inconsistency in their salaries and all that. Today you earn this, tomorrow you can't even say this exactly how much you earn. Ask anybody enrolled on this platform, and even when they conducted a test, you know, he performed so poorly in the test that what's his name, the former minister of no, the Antami.
Okay.
When the lecturers were saying no, we don't want, they conducted a test on UTAS, on IPPIS, and the other platforms that because other professional groups in the university also proposed some payment platforms. IPPIS performed so poorly against others. So why are we still keeping such a payment platform when you can't guarantee transparency? You can't be sure that people are not using it simply to steal people money from hapless civil servants. So this is the situation. So I support them investigating thoroughly to determine where we have issues with this thing, so that at the end of the day we can deal with the problems that are there. Then of course the matter of job racketeering, that one has been on in Abuja for so long. Whether it is public universities that you want to get into, they will sell. I think it was my former boss Ododo who even went, he was in the Senate, and some people from his state who applied complained to him that look, they were being asked to pay so amount of money, and he went on the floor of the Senate to complain. So it's not new, it's been there for so long, but how we can permit a system or a situation in which people will sit in Abuja, they are not looking at merits, they are just looking at who can pay them the highest sum of money to give such people employment. Employment in public institutions, should be made open. There should be level playing field. The son of the poorest of the poor, if he is good enough to be employed, should be employed. There should be entry examinations and all that. Not to have a situation in which you'll be taking money from people. You will not advertise in national dailies that those vacancies are there, so that the right people can't get the opportunity to apply. You will then call people and be asking for money before you give them employment. They have to deal with this nonsense going on in Abuja.
Is there any university? Because before the federal government had even contemplated, in integrating this thing in the system, they would have done the kind of SWOT analysis and to see those flaws.
Yeah, that is expected. Unfortunately, the way things are done in Nigeria, it's not about what will benefit the entire people that will always carry the day. It is what will benefit a few people. Probably some feel that look,
who that will introduce it,
yes,
might have the concept.
exactly. And talking about the issue of payment for employment is not something new in this country. I remember as far back as 2013 when the Lawmakers was the Senate president, there was a committee that was set up on this issue then. That go and probe all these NGOs and all these agencies, ministry and departments that they are collecting money before they could give employment to people. What became of that report that was done? What did we do about it? You see, we are going to continue to have this kind of problem in Nigeria if we do not show examples. Some people that have been found guilty of this kind of offense, make them examples. Maybe jail them, send them to whatever. But it is not always right. When you start an investigation, they do the investigation, and then when the report comes in, we go and dump it somewhere because some people know some people somewhere, and no action is taken. We are not going to go anywhere. I remember I was looking at one TikTok something about one South African who was talking about Nigeria, that in the world today, some of the top scientists on the Wall Street everywhere are Nigerians. And why is this so? He said, Nigeria will not find its feet if we continue to have this kind of thing to continue to occur in Nigeria, where we have the best go out of the country to other places. He said it's not going to make the country a better place. You spent a lot of money to train people for the first 24 years of that person's life, and then after that, that person leaves the country, your best, and he goes to another country and uses his skill, technology, know-how, and everything to make that flourish. Yeah, but your own country where you spend so much money, you don't have all this, you only have the, you know, and this is going to continue. When you start saying, okay, pay money before you go get employment, and someone that doesn't have money to pay and who has a position somewhere, it will leave the country. So we need to show example. If people are doing this thing, like, you know, taking money before they give employment to people, fish them out, punish them, and let the world know that they are being punished. It is only when they see these examples all over that, look, if you do this kind of thing, you'll be punished. That's when we are going to have a same country.
Now, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tarit Lagbaja, has ordered troops to seize control of areas where the indigenous people of Biafra enforce their sit-at-home order throughout the southeast states. The order came after a Finland-based pro-Biafra agitator, Simon Ekpa, announced that there will be a 2-week sit-at-home in the southeast region from July 31st. According to him, the order was to demand the immediate and unconditional release of detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, as well as facilitate the freedom of Biafra nation, among others. The first spokesperson, Muyi Adeyemi, noted that the... Okay. Okay. We wanted to add that the first spokesperson, Muyi Adeyemi, noted that the police had killed and arrested non-state actors enforcing the order, adding that the force would not rest on its oars. This Simon Ekpa guy, I watched his live broadcast yesterday. I saw it for like an hour and a half, and the viewership, I was worried about the number of viewers that these guys would mislead, because it was a live show, and if he's there in Finland giving orders here and some misguided element, it was taking on the governor of Enugu State, because it's as if the governor of Enugu State, Mr. Mba, is trying to make sure that Enugu is not caught in the web of this sit at home.
But the unfortunate thing is, despite all his efforts in the last 2 months, people of Enugu still obey the sit at home thing, especially on Mondays. What Simon Ekpa is trying to do is to make it like a whole week affair and all that. He's not even interested in having it for one day in the week. He wants a situation in which a whole week people will just sit at home. I mean, it's pure madness. And there has been no concrete effort taken to ensure that, look, we protect our people on the days that these guys expect them to simply sit at home doing nothing. As I've said before, if you can guarantee the security of people, our people in the southeast are very industrious, they are very resourceful, they are very inventive. And once it comes to business,
you don't joke with it.
No one even comes close to them when it comes to business, especially buying and selling. They are, in fact, in a world of their own. But that energy that the people have, that creativity, that ability to literally, metaphorically speaking, turn water to wine. Because we see Igbo people in our communities. Go to my village, for example. Because my dad said I should no longer call it village. Go to my town. For example, you will see an Igbo man who had lived there for years. In fact, some call him the Dangote of the town. Because there is no sphere of business that he is not into. He's the one, he will sell beer to people. He has a little department store of his own where he sells provisions and all that. This same person will do, what do they call this Paga business?
POS.
He does POS business. People go to him to make those transfers and all that. Different pieces of business. This guy is there.
The man for the job.
With his wife, and his wife always on her feet, helping out. So they identify what the people need and they give it to them. Now in their own area, where they should really blossom, everyone knows what Onitsha used to be now. The biggest market in West Africa, but they cannot open on Mondays. I mean, you can't explain. How do you explain that the Igbo man wants to open his container on a Monday morning? Now you have forced him to move as far as Akwa Ibom, all these places, to open his container. You are stifling business in the southeast and causing businesses to relocate to other parts of the country. It's not right. And that's why leaders from that zone, they need to come out and resist the attempt to force this wicked brand of civil disobedience on the people. And people like EPA, just as we suggested last week, I don't think it's too much if our government decides to interface with the Finnish government and get this guy put behind bars. And I'm not saying that would put an end to it, but let's not, at least, but it will serve as a deterrent.
On a daily basis.
The level, and he's far away, he's happy where he is.
Comfortable there.
Yes, I'm pushing people to their death here. I just don't get it. Even now in the Kanu that you are saying that you are fighting for, the Kanu can't be happy to watch his people being killed. It was this sort of thing that made him to take up the fight in the first place. He cannot watch his people suffer. And now you are making it look like causing people to suffer, shooting people who come out on
your own people.
Killing your people.
There was a time
you want it to look like something good.
The military guys and everything. But right now,
no, look at what happened in Ebonyi now, because for a long time Ebonyi didn't obey this thing. They went there and they were just firing at people. And what the army chief said that they should identify their bases is not easy because they are mobile, they move around with Sienna. And if you just open fire on any Sienna that you see, you may eventually kill innocent people. They are mobile, they don't stay in one place. So how do you, it's like armed robbery gangs. So many armed robbery gangs, they don't have a den where they stay. They just call each other on phone, let's gather here, let's meet here. From there they go to the location of their robbery plan. So it may not be easy, but let the security forces, on those days that they know these guys will come out, dominate the area. Let us see whether they will come out.
Well, if they dominate the area, I think that will instill confidence. It will boost the morale of people to come out. Well, about the entire street is deserted. But at the order of a non-state actor.
The issue is that even if you put a lot of soldiers out there, there will also be fear in the populace. There are so many soldiers around, when they are supposed to have a free, willy and dealing market thing, it's going to affect them because there are so many, the presence of soldiers and all those things. And I think the people in the southeast should have a rethink about what is happening to them. It is always in the southeast that we are having this problem. We just spoke about vandalization of the second Niger bridge, which is supposed to benefit the people. It is that Onitsha end, southeast end, that we have that vandalization of those items. That southeast end, we are talking about sit at home. It started with the Monday on, now they want to extend it by a week. What are they trying to prove? You see, it is this kind of thing that gives most people from the southeast, hard-working people, nice people, we have a lot of friends among them, even in the newsroom and all those things, good people. But there are some few among them that we just feel that they have a solution to all the problems that confronting the country. There is no part of the country that doesn't have one problem or the other. But the fact is that it is to find a solution to that problem is not the way they are going about it. I'm not going to give them a solution. You are going to turn people against you. There are people who turn against them because I don't see a scenario that someone will tell me stay at home when I'm supposed to be at my workplace to make money to feed my family and all this. And You think I like you, I won't like you. So I think they should have a rethink. The so-called leaders, this guy that is in Finland, they should have call them. There are people that can talk to these people. Talk to them. This is not the solution to the problem in the Southeast. There are other ways we can resolve our problems in the country, in the Southeast. Let us pursue that area, not by telling people to stay at home when they are supposed to be engaged in commercial activities. I think that's the way they should look at it, instead of telling people to stay at home.
Let's look at the agitation for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
And I knew it that throughout the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, that since the special rendition from wherever to Nigeria, that they will not release him. I was sure of that. So now a lot of people are saying that this is a new government, and Southeast leaders they met last week, led by Chief Emmanuel Iwanyan, saying that they are going to seek a kind of audience with President Bola Tinubu to ask for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. What are those things on the table? Asking for his release, will you now ask him to renounce his agitation? Will you tell him to sign an undertaking?
That is the sticking point in this whole matter. What is the guarantee that we have that Nnamdi Kanu will agree to renounce armed struggle against his country? Because if we can't get him to renounce armed struggle against his country, then it's not worth it. He has to renounce armed struggle. Everywhere this kind of dialogue has worked, you have to renounce that armed struggle in exchange for freedom and in exchange for peace.
No government will.
So no government will allow you go back through all that pain to bring you, and then allow you to continue just the way you are doing things. I have always demanded that Nnamdi Kanu should be released, and I've always asked for dialogue to be considered, because I've seen worse things, worse conflict between government and individuals, and government and groups, resolved through dialogue. So what Nnamdi Kanu is doing is not a new thing. We've seen others, even people more violent than him, or both in action and in the spoken word. But something must give. If you won't give up your armed struggle against the state will be reluctant to make peace with you. In fact, they will be happy to keep you in detention, because they believe that once you are here, you will not disturb them. You can actually give freedom to someone, and that person will then be the catalyst to even remove you from power. Yes. So it's a matter that they have to take their time. There was, in my view, a premature attempt to get the House of Reps also to look at the matter of his release. Clearly, they had not done enough consultation. Kanu's matter is an emotive matter. It's not something that you bring up and you won't see people retreat into their ethnic cocoons. You won't see people say a lot of those things that divide us. So before you can bring up such a matter, you must consult widely. Let them see why it is necessary at this time to have this. For me, I remember that the president said he will make peace with people in the southeast, that the agitators in the southeast. But it's also important for him to take his time. The government is still very new. There are some decisions that you can't take in a hasty manner. So I can understand why Mr. President has to wait a little bit and see, do the Wanyawus of this world, for example, do they have any influence on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? I know that someone like the late Mbazulike Amechi, for First Republic Minister of Aviation, even said that he has some control over him, that if the president will release him to him, that he will listen, and whatever he tells him, he will do and all that, you know. But Mbazulike Amechi and Nwanyawo are not the same. In terms of acceptance, in terms of even the way people perceive them in that area, they are not the same. The way people perceive Chukwuemeka Ezife is not the same way they perceive Nwanyawo, for example. So there's Nwanyawo, a leader of Haneze, but I don't think that people perceive him just the same way they perceive or they perceived Mbazulike Amechi. So in agreeing to release this person for peace to reign, you know, they have to also ask, whom am I releasing him to? Can this person give me the guarantee that Nnamdi Kanu will renounce his armed struggle against the state if we release him? They must have that conversation in detail, a thorough conversation before we can get to that level when the government will be ready to take that decision. I believe it's possible, but I still think that there are many rivers to cross before we get to that point.
Is it true that the elders have been quiet? Some people accuse the elders in the Southeast of this.
The elders, some of them have spoken out, and but you see, you also have to be careful. You also have to be careful not to further antagonize the people. You know, there are some people in the Southeast today who sees Nnamdi Kanu as a savior, as a leader, as someone that they can look up to, especially the younger elements. But I believe that the elder is now saying, contrary to what Nnamdi Kanu is speaking, of course, he's looking for the eye of the people, of those people. So they have to also be very careful about what they say out there and the way they manage the situation. For the release of Kanu, I feel that he should be the one that should give a commitment. Not even anybody, not even the elders or so. He should be, he's the one, he's the linchpin. He should be the one that should give a commitment that, okay, I'm going to renounce this thing. What are even the issues that he's fighting for? What is the agitation for? Lay it on the table. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at it because it has to be a symbolic thing. Okay, the federal government runs himself and some on the other side. And look, what are the grounds of these people? What do they want? Okay, let's look at it. You know, but he must give a commitment before he could be released. Like Jide said, you can't be someone that is likely to cause problem for you eventually at the end of the day. So the others have to be careful too. But Nnamdi Kanu himself should be the one that should give the commitment that, look, I'm going to stop this agitation, and I will look at further negotiation with the government about the problem that we have. That's
It's a tough call. Anyway. A former member of the National Assembly who represented Kogi West Senatorial District, Senator Smart Adeyemi, has disclosed that he would be headed to the Court of Appeal to seek redress following the dismissal of his suit seeking the nullification of the All Progressive Congress gubernatorial primary election. In his judgment, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja dismissed Adeyemi's suit. He stated that the plaintiff did not present substantial evidence to prove their allegation of falsification of the primary election results. Senator Adeyemi and Governor Yahaya Bello were once political allies before they fell out. In a viral video some time ago, Senator Adeyemi was heard vowing not to do anything against the governor. Let's share the video with you.
Let me only tell you, only a foolish man will be thinking that I will have issues with Yahaya Bello. I will not have any issues with Yahaya Bello, let me tell you. It will not happen. Because when people didn't believe in me, he believed in me. So I can do anything, I can defend Yahaya Bello to any level. Because when people didn't believe, Yahaya Bello stood his ground. He said, I believe in smart. So I will not defend him, inshallah. Nothing will happen. We will work together. Whatever is the decision of Yahaya Bello, I will stand by it, whether it is good or it's bad. I will stand by it. That's the message of my loyalty to him. You know, and I have some people have been talking. Whenever those Abelo is leaving office, if he likes, let him bring that worst political enemy as his successor. I will support him. I'm not in a hurry to do it. Whoever those that bring, we will support the person. So let me tell you that I am a progressive-minded person, and I'm a man of faith. I am a man of faith. I am here by the grace of Almighty God. In what my Muslim brother will say, it is God who brought me here, using Yaya Dozabula and all of you. So I will continue to give my utmost best to all of you, defend our interests at the national level. There is no interest to defend the Kogi, because Yaya Dozabula is a just and fair person. Am I right? Am I communicating? Yaya Dozabula is just and fair. So there's nothing to fight with him. And also is our neighbors, our in-law. How are you going to fight your in-law, our neighbor? Do good. The Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. So please continue to give your support to our government, the Kogi State, and at the federal level. I want to thank you. We begin, for the waste of time, we begin with Kogi West now. Like West, so that we can move on. And maybe before then, we allow our commissioners there.
Smarts Adeyemi, Senator Smart Adeyemi. Yes. Between that time and this time, I wonder what went wrong between him and Yaya. He said anything Yaya does, that's
good or bad,
good or bad, anybody bring a successor. And it is this process of choosing a successor that is the bone of contention now.
Yes. As I said before, people must be careful of what they say in this era of social media, in this era of the internet. You can abuse people on social media. You can go on WhatsApp platforms and abuse Babajide Kolade Otitoju for saying the truth. You can't stop me. You can't. Abusing me because I said the truth. In fact, you will be encouraging me to say it more. That's the kind of person that I am. When with Smart Adeyemi, Smart Adeyemi has every reason to go to court.
Honestly, ordinarily.
He has every reason to. He's my brother. He can go to court.
They are not.
You see what? Remember what you said.
Spewed all this.
A man of honor,
delicate word,
honors his word.
Honestly.
Ayo, and I repeat it. A man of honor honors his word. You can't in one breath say that even whatever he does, good or bad, we support him. Whom are you trying to impress by saying all that? There is no man made by God that is perfect. And that's why Mahatma Gandhi said, no man can attain perfection while in the body. So Yaya as a person is not perfect. All of us, we are not perfect. We are creations of God. Only God is perfect. Every notable religion preaches that only God is perfect. Abi, my Muslim brother.
Yeah.
Abi? So
I'm a Christian.
I like that. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
My mom is an elder sister to you. So every religion preaches that no man is perfect. So at the time when Senator Smart Adeyemi was saying all this, he already cast the governor of Kogi State like a perfect person. And I know the Yaya that I know will never, that's him speaking to the ears of the governor. The Yaya down. Well, that's his
Messianic
is his choice. Is his choice.
We're just putting you out there that now you are going to the Court of Appeal and the person you've not done to and the person.
Yeah, and you said that whoever he brings,
he projected this time.
Yes.
What is happening now? He said, look,
come on, whoever he brings,
the successor.
Yes, that whoever he brings,
yes,
good or bad, we will support the person. So
he can never do
what has suddenly happened. Friends can fall apart. It's possible. But you can't say that even if he brings your enemy, you will back that person. Come on, there are things you don't say. You are a journalist.
Yes. That's
even if you are retired as a journalist, you are a journalist still.
That's the president of the
during
his time. Yes.
We always tell politicians, look, mind what you say. Politicians will say rubbish. When they get published, they will lie against the press. They will say, oh, I was misquoted. I didn't say that. I've seen a man who was recorded. Even the video came out, he still said he didn't say so. When you were saying so, you didn't realize that it was wrong. So Adeyemi has brought Ododo.
No. So we expect Ododo
and Adeyemi, there is no record that they quarreled. So if you said that, okay, that even if it's your enemy that he brings, you will still support. Is Ododo your enemy? Is Ododo your enemy? So what we see now is something that makes us have a feeling that, oh, as long as the governor doesn't patronize Adeyemi doesn't patronize Smart Adeyemi, it means that whatever claim to loyalty and all that, when just empty gas.
Yes.
It's just empty gas. So when the going was good, you were happy.
He was the Director General campaign. He was this, that, at a point in time, to Adeyemi.
Adeyemi was playing politics by the statement he made that if he brings, whether anything he does, good or bad, he will support. He was just pure politics. And why was he doing that? Because if he wanted to contest for ticket of the APC for the governorship, I felt
beginning with the Senate.
Yes. So I felt that the government would give him that. And that was saying all those things. Well, you see, the government
wanted to return to the Senate.
Of course, when he returned to the Senate,
he was the that ticket.
Yes. So he knew what he was saying. He knew what he was saying. He wanted the support of the government, and that's the way most of the politicians.
If he had gotten that Senate ticket,
the government he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done that.
About convenience.
Yes. So if he had got the ticket then, the government would still be the best man in the world. So that's the way most of them are. And it's not unfortunate, like say, as a former journalist. I don't know where former journalist is going to politics now. He is retired journalist. I think the truth should be sacrosanct to people like him. At least he's supposed to be someone that we should always look up to. That representative over there. And he's a journalist. He will speak the truth to power. He will speak the truth to anybody. But
whether it favors you or not. Unfortunately, we don't hate him as an
no.
We have nothing against him, But we are merely reporting the fact that he went to court.
Yes.
And this is what transpired in court. But all these hungry people in our area who have no job.
No second address.
They don't have a second address. All they do is sit on social media and write terrible English. The kind of English that my boss, Kunle Ajibade, can get mad about. When you write an article in which you are abusing Babajide, for example, and you are making prepositional errors, it shows that your foundation in English is terrible. It shows that you have put your teachers to shame. Prepositional errors. I mean, those are not errors that people should make at this level. You can construct a sentence and there will be error, but prepositional errors point to a shaky foundation when it comes to the written word. It points to a shaky foundation. It means that you do not even have, in fact, you don't have a foundation at all in speaking the Queen's language. So, Smart Adeyemi, we wish him good luck. He said he's going to appeal. Fine. Only God knows who will be governor tomorrow. It's God that gives power. And we respect God. We know that it's God that gives power. In my state of Kogi, all we are interested in is progress. If it pleases God to make that happen through Ododo or Abejide or anybody for that, or Dino, who is also my brother, from Aito.
What is the name of this SDP man?
Ajaka, Mwitala.
Yes.
God, it is God that knows tomorrow. Ayo, if they told you If they told you back then that the Abelo will be president, I mean governor, will you believe?
No, I didn't.
Look at the way he came to power.
Honestly. Yeah.
Look at the way he came to power.
The election of Abubakar Audu.
We never knew that it's God that knows. It's God that understands all these things.
It was so dramatic.
Can you look at it this way? Another thing to show you that God has His hand in all of these things. Of all the people that contested the presidential election, this last one, it was only Asiwaju that failed to win his base. Yet, he became president. He's the only one. All of them won from their respective states and all that. Lagos is his state. Some say it's from Osun. Even the Osun, he still didn't win. But it didn't stop him from becoming president.
It's 31% of the total vote cast.
So, we just leave everything to God. It's God that knows tomorrow. And we don't have to worship our leaders. I always say, we are journalists, we don't belong to any party. We just say the truth. That's why we don't have permanent friends. Today, somebody that we're on good terms, you could hear, he has stopped picking my call because I said something that I didn't like. When people from APC, from PDP, when they are abusing me on social media, I always thank God because it means that I'm doing my work well. If some are patronizing me, maybe I'm not doing the work well. But I've been in situations that APC people, they will abuse me.
The identity.
The PDP people, they will abuse me. That means my mandate as a journalist, I'm fulfilling it. Because my mandate is not to make friends out of them, is to say the truth. No matter whose hoax is God. So, and we will not stop saying the truth. If anybody comes, oh, you abuse me on behalf of Abejide, I will come for your principal. If you abuse me on behalf of Gino, I will come for your principal. If you abuse me because of Smart Adeyemi, I will come for your principal. It's as simple as that.
Because you are faceless.
Yeah. Nobody knows them. Insignificant people. Birds of passage.
All right. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. This is Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be back after this time out for the second half.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? Who is the writer? At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national uniform code.
Your TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
In the month of July, on the 2nd of July, the global community celebrates World Sport Journalists Day. The 5th of July is the first anniversary of the Kuje prison attack when some Boko Haram insurgents escaped. The 7th of July marks 25 years since the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, MKO Abiola, died. His death occurred in 1998. 11th of July is World Population Day, while 15th is World Youth Skills Day. On the 17th, attention is turned to World Day for International Justice, while 18th of July is Nelson Mandela Day to honor the former South African leader. 25th of July is the World Diaspora Day, and on the 28th, the World Hepatitis Day is commemorated, as well as the World Nature Conservation Day. On the 29th of July, President Bola Tinubu will mark 2 months in office, and the 30th of July is World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. Brace up and tune in to TVC News for in-depth analysis and reports. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and I still have Babajide Kolade, Titoju, and Bolaji Tunji in the studio. President Bola Tinubu has disclosed a plan by the federal government to transfer 8,000 naira to 12 million poor households in Nigeria for a period of 6 months. This was contained in a letter the president wrote to the House of Representatives regarding the $800 million loan request of the Buhari administration for the Social Safety Net program. According to the president, the money transfer to poor households would have a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals. For credibility, the president said the money would be transferred to the household digitally. Jimmy, this conditional transfer money scheme, and was told that it's like a legislation that was passed into law by the
it's one of the
Buhari administration.
Yes, it's one of the last set of laws that the administration came up with. There was someone that I told who is based abroad. I said, this is President Buhari already made this thing a law. He said, no, that's not true. This is new, coming from this government. I then forwarded the story. On the day President Buhari, I forwarded it to him. And I said, wow, why should Asiwaju continue this? What we should be telling ourselves, the law is there already. What we should be advising our government to do is, come, you can still do this, devoting this quantum of money to something that will not, in my view, lead to greater production. It's not what we want to see. Of course, America during COVID made cash transfers to its people because a lot of them were trapped in their houses. They couldn't produce. That's a situation that is different. When I give a household 8,000 naira in a month, what production can that lead to? There are those who have argued that, look, government can support small-scale enterprises, for example, give people 1 million naira each, and those people will be able to provide employment to at least 3 or 4 persons.
You don't forget that government is not even referring to people of our status, the poorest of the poor. That will be the people government will be attending to.
Even at that is, we're talking of 96 naira per day for feeding. Is it practicable? Assuming, in this household, these are the number of people there. Whichever way you look at it, 96 naira per day for feeding.
No, it can't be anything.
Because 8,000 naira in a whole month. Look at the transport cost. For me, if we can't do what has been suggested, that empower small and medium scales, empower like even 1 million of them.
It used to be 5,000 naira.
Empower 1 million of them, for example. They will be able to stimulate production. They will be able to employ maybe 3 or more persons, and that will also help the economy. But I don't see how, because if boosting the economy is our goal, I don't see how this can help. This kind of conditional cash transfer, in my view, cannot lead to a greater production and real economic growth. People are saying even that vehicle, if the goal is to mitigate the pains that removal of subsidy has caused, why not buy vehicles? For example, some are saying 8,000 60-seater buses at 30 million each. You share those buses, even at senatorial level, you share those buses. And don't stop at that. Convert those buses to CNG, that is compressed natural gas. It is by far very cheap. we will be able to bring down the cost of transportation. One of the biggest pains that our people are going through as a result of the removal of subsidy is the high transport cost. And those who travel to the village, to our town, they pay 10,000 naira per head. This is something that they were not paying more than 2,000, 2005 before, jumping to 10,000 per person. And I can warn Nigerians that we've not seen the worst too. Yeah. Because now, if petrol price or if oil prices go to like $100 per barrel, the current price in our country will not be sustainable. It will go higher. So, in my view, let's mitigate the pain through transportation costs, and we can do that by bringing in those vehicles, you know, so that our people can move around freely.
Bolaji, some people will argue that it's not only Nigeria who have a scheme like this, that even some developing nations and some developed nations, they have something like this. But some other people will say that it's just like a little drop of water in the ocean.
Yeah. See, I have a really different view to the entire situation. And my view is that I think those who have spoken against this palliative, they are just taking an aspect of the totality of what the government is doing. The first thing we should notice take note of is the fact that the government declared a state of emergency on food security. A state of emergency. Now, a few days after, the presidential spokesman, they came out and he spoke extensively about the plan of government to tackle this problem. For the first thing they said was that they are going to food and water issues will come under the National Security Council purview. That it is an issue that must be discussed whenever they are having a meeting so that quick decision will be made. I think it's a major step. Secondly, they said, in what he said they are going to revamp the agric sector by pumping savings from subsidy removal. That's another step they are taking. They are going to release fertilizers and grains to farmers and households. Then he also said there's going to be a synergy between Ministry of Agric and Water Resources to ensure all-year irrigation, so that there won't be all this seasonal planting of crops that, okay, this period we only have tomatoes, by the next few we will have because the rain is not there, or we have maize at this period. It's going to be an all-year round planting season, which is a very good thing. You see, we shouldn't take the aspect of giving money alone. It is a totality. Yeah, it is a totality or a total package the government has given. That aspect of the 8,000 per just a palliative, just a temporary thing. The government could have just decided not to even do anything about it. And nobody will say anything.
500.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, I know. But the fact is that there are other things that have been stated to be done by the government just to ease the suffering of Nigerians.
Okay, I think we need more enlightenment on this. Joining us to shed more light on the proposed rescue plan by the federal government is an economist, Kelvin Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us, Kelvin.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What do you make of this proposed scheme, Kelvin?
Well, I'm very straightforward with you. The past president spent over 2 trillion on social investment programs. In 8 years, per capita income of Nigeria has dropped by 50%. So the question you have to ask yourself, because I like to look at data, because data always tells you the story. What's been the impact of the social investment program, especially the conditional cash transfer, on Nigerians? No impact. In fact, the impact has been negative, because if you look at the 500 billion naira they want to spend, let's go back to how they got the money they want to spend. The past Minister of Finance applied for a loan at the World Bank, $800 million. And that loan, for you to get the loan, you have to place a collateral. How did they get the collateral? They basically used like Nigeria's SDI basket, 17.1% of it, as a collateral at the IMF to place with the World Bank, International Development Association, IDA, to get the loan. So you stake 17.5% of Nigeria's special borrowing rights at the IMF with the World Bank to get the loan. And then we're going to use it to subsidize consumption, not production.
Yeah.
What are the two major baskets for calculating inflation in Nigeria? Food and energy. Okay, food prices are high, energy prices are high. And all of them, the energy in fact affects food prices too. How do you subsidize Nigerians? You look at systemic layers for decoupling the acceleration of inflation in Nigeria. If you put that 500 billion into building cargo rail lines, horizontal rail lines in Nigeria, because there are vertical rail lines, there are no horizontal rail lines, which is the reason why haulage trucks step in and they put so much pressure on the roads that Nigeria has, and the lifespan of a road that is constructed, a federal frontier road, doesn't last for long. And you see that the prices of diesel are sending the prices of haulage across states, interstate haulage, over the roof, which affects the price of food. So if, for example, a family has been buying a bag of gari for 28,000, a 100 kg bag of gari for 28,000, for example, and because of the price of diesel, because of the price of fuel, that bag has gone to maybe 50 or 55,000 per 100 kg. What do you rather subsidize? You subsidize them by giving them 8,000 naira per month, which is about $10 US dollars. Yeah? As against putting it into the levers, you need to decouple the prices of the things they buy with the money. Subsidize production, don't subsidize consumption. Like one of the speakers said, you can also focus on using propane and ethylene gas, C2 and C3, and compressed natural gas in gas engine buses to replace fuel buses. The price of gas, propane, ethylene, and compressed natural gas is somewhere around maybe 31% of the price of fuel. For me, these are more sustainable ways to provide subsidy, considering that the money was not gifted to you by the World Bank. It was not a grant. 800 million US dollars was a loan with a 3-year moratorium. They won't start paying interest until 2026. It's better for you to subsidize production than subsidize consumption. And I'll just add to you, listen, this culture of conditional cash transfer, social investment programs has contributed, but not in full, to the fact that under the past president, for example, the Central Bank of Nigeria and its direct intervention programs that totals about 8 trillion, they have over 50% employment. I mean, it was the same central bank that sacked the board of a bank and the board of the holding company of that same bank for having the regulatory forbearance of 750 billion and having a non-performing loan ratio of 28%, which was the highest in the banking industry a few years ago. So how come the central bank is violating its own rule on having non-performing loan ratio for the banking sector regulates at between 4.8 and 5.6%? So in my view is, these programs are, for me, like signals to pander to a political base. They are not effective. They will never be effective. And bringing the US as an example, every time that statement comes up, the US give conditional cash transfer, I always remind people who say that, look, the US generated 4.5 trillion US dollars from the Internal Revenue Service for government revenues in 2022. 4.5 trillion US dollars. Their budget for aid is 41 billion US dollars. Their budget for aid is equal to Nigeria's budget for 2023. So the US cannot be an example and a measure for comparing conditional cash transfer. The second question is, how much of their budget are they giving to conditional cash transfer as compared to Nigeria? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. So in my view, I'll tell you very practically and direct that conditional cash transfers don't work. There is a lazy solution to a very complex and difficult problem.
Now, the question I want to ask is also related to some of what I hear people say. Does this conditional cash transfer, does it help to ameliorate poverty? Does it slow down inflation? What really does it do?
12 million households.
Conditional cash transfer does not affect, does not reduce inflation. It doesn't impact on poverty. Like I said, the reason is because when you want to solve the problem of lack, and when you want to solve the problem of demand destruction from the prices of things skyrocketing faster than the GDP rate, you don't focus on subsidizing consumption, you focus on subsidizing production. Okay? I give the example of, look, if the prices of food is accelerating, you don't give people money and say, oh, it's going to help you to lift the burden. What you do is you focus on slowing down the acceleration of the price of food. That's the role of the government. And how do you do that? You focus on, for example, one of the speakers talked about the fact that I like that part of the plan where the government has moved, and this is something I've always said for the past several years, move food security, food supply into the National Security Council. Food supply is a national security issue. If an enemy wants to attack a country, the first thing they target is food supply. When Russia was going to attack Ukraine, Russia targeted the grain farms of Ukraine, the fertilizer plants of Ukraine, because he knew that if he could damage the sources of food for Ukraine, Ukraine would be crippled. Okay? The targeted power, the targeted food. So food supply is a national security issue. I like the fact that, look, they're going to, they say they're going to have Nigerian Agricultural Land Development Agency open 500,000 hectares of land. I keep saying it, that listen, land development is a major cost. It costs about 250,000 naira today to open 1 hectare of land. How many smallholder farmers that probably farm a total of 1 hectare per farming season, which is per year, can afford 250,000 naira to open, to pay for diesel, to pay for tractor, to pay for labor? 99% of it, of 95% of them can't afford it. So that is a good initiative. Also, the fact that he is talking about providing fertilizer, although I believe the presidential fertilizer initiative which the past president had didn't work, and providing like a ceiling for fertilizer prices and then the government paying the difference on the upside, it's not sustainable. The solution to the problem, listen, the solution to the problem are institutional and they are systemic. And I'll tell you what, for you to blend NPK, you need nitrogen, you need phosphorus, you need potassium. Nigeria has ammonium nitrate gas, which is nitrogen. It doesn't have phosphorus, it doesn't have potassium. Potassium and phosphorus are imported. And the reason why fertilizer prices went from 11,500 to about 28,000 naira per bag was because of the war in Ukraine. And because Ukraine and Russia, for example, together contributes about 45% of the global supply of potassium, or muriate of potash. So that affected the supply chain and raised prices up. The pressure was on Canada, which is the third major supplier of potash around the world. And Canada couldn't step up to meet up with the supply. Hence, the increase in the prices of NPK. If you want to bring down the prices of food, you have to focus on land development, you have to focus on fertilizer, you have to focus on the seeds, yeah? And the government has the power to do it. There are minerals in Nigeria, there are mines in Nigeria that if you explore can actually produce phosphorus and potassium. But, some minerals is still under Schedule 39 of the exclusive legislative list. This brings me back to the question. Because so far, I tell you, I am cautiously optimistic and I'm impressed with the progress the president has made in the last 1.5 months. But I'm cautiously optimistic. It brings me back to the question of,
if you are to advise the federal government of Nigeria now, since the removal of fuel subsidy, and a lot of people are feeling the impact economically, what would you have opted that this government would have put in place as a kind of...
If I was to advise the president, I would advise him to focus on energy and food. Focus on energy and food. Provide buses. Provide, on the short term, within the next 6 months, provide gas buses. Gas buses are cheaper. Build a bus rapid transportation system like you have in Lagos across major cities in Nigeria. Use the Lagos BRT model and replicate it. The president is now the president of Nigeria. It's from Lagos, is the president of Nigeria. Replicate that BRT model, but let the model be on gas. Because even the management, Lamata, I'm sure, is complaining about the prices of diesel. And they started pilots to switch to electricity and to gas. Focus on gas, right? And then create a system where everybody above the ages of 60 and below the ages of 18, they have like a card, which the BRT model has, that is connected to their national identification number NIN. And where, as soon as you come into the bus and you swipe your card, the system confirms that you're either 60 and above or 18 and below, and you don't pay for transportation. On the other side of food, focus on invoice factoring and give mechanization, give farm inputs. Now that food supply is now a national security issue, the Air Force, the Army, the Navy will be able to coordinate on the ground to ensure that farmlands are secured. Focus on developing the river basins, the 12 river basins you have, into irrigation clusters to provide water, especially in the north central, in the northwest, and in the northeast. If you increase the production of food, Nigeria needs 5 million metric tons of rice paddy. It needs 7 million metric tons of maize. You need 5 million metric tons of wheat. You need about 1.6 million metric tons of sugar. Yeah, if you focus on these 4 areas and you do backward integration and you begin to build, you'll see that the shock on prices of food will start to slow and inflation will start to come down. That's how you solve the problem, not by taking out half a trillion naira of scarce resources that the government is fighting to get to dole out on conditional cash transfer basis. It doesn't work. It's trickle-down economics that has been proven over time in several parts of the world to be a failure. It doesn't work.
What do we do now that the law is there? There is a law that
the National Assembly that
kind of validates.
The president has the powers. He's the president. That's why he's the president. He has the powers to amend the law. That's why he's the president. He can simply send his special advisor on National Assembly matters and the ministers or special advisors who are in charge to draft legislation and call the leadership of National Assembly to a meeting and chart the direction. That's why he's the president. Amend the law.
But excuse me, would you really accept the fact that government should just stop giving that 8,000 to people? That they shouldn't give that 8,000 to people? Because when you look at holistically, when you look at the plan of the federal government, it's an holistic thing, which I mentioned earlier. They are going to have a synergy between the Ministry of Agriculture and Water Resources. They are going to have a commodity board to stabilize food prices and maintain food reserve stability. They are going to engage security to protect farm and farmlands so that people can go to farm. They are going to clear forests so that people can have enough arable lands to farm. So many different things. So we are only picking and asking.
Why don't you put that money instead into this plan? Look, Nigeria has 77 trillion naira, $171 billion in debt. Yeah? Nigeria has a deficit in 2023 Appropriation Act of about 43.8%. Okay? Yeah. You have maturing principal coming up of debt you have to pay or you have to refinance. Yeah? Nigeria has a debt servicing in 2023 budget of about 29%. Yeah? It has a government revenue to like debt servicing, to government revenue ratio of like 6%. How do you advise the government to spend $500 billion when you have all these indices staring you in the face and bailing out 8,000 naira to 12 million Nigerians? By the way, the 15.7 people on the National Social Register should be audited. Should be audited to confirm that the 15.7 million people are actual human beings that can be verified by the National Identification Number System, NIN. They should be audited to confirm that those people, they are not ghost people on that records and register, and they are not people who are going to benefit from it illegally. Yeah. So for me, I think, like, look, you have a scale of preference, you have priorities, and focusing on production instead of consumption, and realizing that you don't have the money to spend or to waste is actually critical to guiding the government into making decisions on how it spends very scarce resources that it doesn't have.
I want to thank you, Kevin, Emmanuel. Thank you for giving us insight into the conditional cash transfer. Jide, so there's still a whole lot of debates surrounding this thing.
Yes.
A lot of people are not.
We are not all
I
going to agree.
think that since it's just a plan, I believe that nothing will ease
Cast and concrete.
nothing will ease the pain of our people more than to address this high cost of transportation. Because how do you even move goods and services around when the cost is so high? Many people like the UK. It's because the UK has an excellent transportation system,
the best in the world.
It is one of the things they say they are going to do.
We need to even devote our energy to that. I also do not support an idea of simply throwing money at consumption, because that's what it is.
Now he has told us that the impact is.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
in fact, a lot, it's because it's prone to corruption. Many Nigerians are afraid.
I think that's just the major problem.
It doesn't address inflation. It doesn't. You can't use it to control inflation.
We're told that millions of people benefited from this, but the accountability part is what.
Yes, people need to even be sure that this thing will get to the people who need it the most. And there is no compulsion to simply look at what the former administration did and try to repeat what the former administration did. I would be excited if we can buy like 8,000 buses, for example. 8,000 buses to share to our people, then convert them to compressed natural gas so that it will be really sustainable. Fuel prices are driving our people mad. Some people are calling me that, why don't they even devote this money to building modular refineries? Everyone is interested in what will bring down the price of fuel. And as I said earlier, this is in no way the highest that we'll get to. Because the price is dependent on the price in the international market. So if it goes to, if Putin does something crazy now and it goes to 100 or 120 dollars per barrel, how much are we going to sell petrol? So let's do something that lasts. Encourage this compressed natural gas thing, so that convert vehicles to it, so that our people can buy cheaper fuel. Move from gasoline fired buses to gas fired. It will really help our people.
All right, reaching on stretch now. Due to the increasing industrialization in urban settlements, Nigerians in rural communities can sometimes be neglected when it comes to the availability of power. This is where the Rural Electrification Agency of the federal government of Nigeria plays a major role. Since its inception, the agency has been helping businesses grow and making life more productive for residents in remote communities in Nigeria through the construction of renewable energy system powered by solar. On our Journalist Hangout special, we shine the spotlight on the efforts of the agency in enlightening communities in Nasarawa, Ogun, and the FCT. Let's share the story with you.
Alternative, renewable or clean energy is the sourcing of power from unlimited sources like biomass, ethanol, hydropower, geothermal power, wind and solar energy. In recent times, scientists have extended sources of renewable energy to include animal and human waste, as well as agricultural byproducts. It is called clean energy because it poses little or no damage to man and the environment, and renewable because its shelf life is limitless. Nigeria is the most populous country and largest economy in Africa. It has one of the fastest growing populations globally, leading to increasing demand for energy. That is key to boosting economic development. According to a report by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, out of $1.7 trillion needed annually by Nigeria and other developing countries to sustain investment in clean energy, they were able to attract investment worth $5.44 billion in 2022. To meet the increasing demands of power in Nigeria, the Rural Electrification Agency is helping businesses to grow and making life more productive for residents in remote communities. In Keida Shoho, a community in Abuja, the Rural Electrification Agency, in collaboration with its partners, installed a 100 kilowatt peak solar hybrid mini grid for residents.
We have panels, array of panels of 100 kilowatt peak, where generation is being taking place, and it moves to the storage where the excess energy is being stored in the battery in the form of chemical energy before it being converted again to AC current, where the household will be needed for the transmission. That's the last stage of the process.
More than 1 year after the project was established, businesses as well as homes in Keida Shogo have enjoyed uninterrupted power supply.
This is one of the projects for federal government intervention into electrifying rural communities for the underserved and the unserved. This project is a renewable energy project, solar system. It serves the community and it also serves some productive users. These do not require extension from existing network, but it's a standalone system.
The 24-hour power supply has put smiles on the face of business owners and households in Kaido. Abdul Karim is a 27-year-old manager of a milling business owned by his family. He says before now, keeping the business running was a Herculean task due to high cost of diesel, as he required 25 liters per week to power his machine. But installation of the mini power grid has changed the story.
Like to help my business, seriously. We appreciate them. We appreciate. Because as they carry this light come outside, we're happy.
The renewable energy project is not only economically beneficial, families in the community are also enjoying its impact. Sakinat is a newly married wife and resident of Kaido, Shogo. He says some years back, life in the community was not only difficult, but unbearable. However, the story is now different.
We are enjoying the right way. We use that for phone, for funk, for television, for engine, for laptop, for fridge.
Arwaza, an agrarian community in Doma, local government area of Nasarawa State, is predominantly occupied by the Egon people, and here the people are mostly farmers. After years of darkness, the federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, has installed a 50 kilowatt solar power project in Alwaza community. The project has the capacity to supply electricity to 400 households in the community.
These projects are spread across the country, and it helps alleviate poverty, it provides palliative for the oil subsidy removal, because hence they use electricity from solar now and no longer have to use from fuel, diesel or fuel operated generators.
The Alwaza Primary Health Care Center is one facility with solar power. The deputy officer in charge of the health center tells us how the new electricity grid has brought improvement to the health facility.
Before we had been using torch, buying torch, even the generator to fuel at times is a problem for us. We found it difficult. But with the advent of this light, in fact, we really appreciate we can be able to do even minor soldering that we found it difficult before.
Not too far from the health center is a barbing saloon owned by Charles. He said installation of the solar system has helped him save cost hitherto incurred from the use of a generator.
We are using it, we are buying fuel to use it. Maybe someday we are buying fuel for 2 liters or 3 liters a day, but now we are using sunlight, but we are making more than before we are using fuel.
Eriwe Farm in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, sits magnificently on a 156 hectares of land. It is one of the biggest fish farms in West Africa. The farm has sections for poultry, piggery and aquaculture. To assist them in reducing their expenses on petrol and diesel and promote clean energy, the federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, built a 100 kilowatt solar powered mini grid for the farmers.
What we have here is 100 kilowatts peak solar mini grid that we installed for them. We look at the cluster area where all farmers came together. They have 3 different livestock here. So what we initially plan to do for them is their feed mill plant, to power it so that at every point in time they will be able to get their feed mill.
The project executed by the Rural Agency is currently providing power for about 10% of the farm, with poles erected and cables laid across different sections. Meanwhile, information from Statista, a data and statistics website, show that as at 2022, Nigeria had a total renewable energy capacity of 2.16 megawatts. Renewable energy is not only cost-effective, it poses little or no pollution to man or the environment, as well as having immense job opportunities. For a pollution-free environment and stable power, alternative, clean or renewable energy is the way to go. Well done, Rural Electrification Agency.
We thank our reporters on Godwin Agwan from Nasarawa, Lara Afolayan from Abuja, Kasim Olawe from Ogun State for putting together that report on rural electrification. Judy, I remember this is not just that. Under the last administration, under the Minister of State for Power, I remember you going to some communities, especially in Obudu, and we saw the launch of this as in for a time like this, that we have hiking petrol prices. This will come so handy.
Honestly, you know, we need the Rural Electrification Agency at this time more than at no other time in our history. You know, we used to have Rural Electricity Board in those days that provided electricity in the rural areas,
yes,
you know, where the communities are not covered by the national grid. Now, what the REA does is to provide alternate grids in communities, in rural communities, underserved, they call them the underserved communities, communities where people need electricity but they don't have it. Now, in what they are doing, you know, during COVID, they were giving electricity to the major hospitals in our country. They were giving them electricity so that by that they can play their own part in saving lives. Today, if you go to Nigeria's tertiary institutions, UNELAG, OAU, Bayero University, you see the handiwork of a Rural Electrification Agency under the leadership of Ahmad Salijo. The young man has
done... it is 24 hours.
Yes.
Consistent.
Yes. What they also do is, and you know, it's so easy to maintain. As long as there's sunlight, you don't have a problem. Where you don't have constant sunlight is where you say, what are we going to do? But
we are blessed.
We are blessed with consistent sunshine. We are not like some countries where they don't have
9 months of.
Now, those universities I was talking about, there were universities that students will go on riots when the elections are approaching and they don't have light. Go to, I think, 17 federal universities have benefited so far. 17. UNILAG, if you go to UNILAG, you see their own.
To cut down your wage bill on power.
No, this is what they use. And the students are trained to be able to maintain it on their own. You know? And they also train people in those communities, for example, where they've given them electricity, is part of REA's contribution to even whittling down on the effect of poverty on our people. When you go to communities where there are business hubs, look at that market in Doma, for example, in Doma local government. The women who want to produce gari, for example, and other things, they need light, but they can't pay because it's expensive. So Rural Electrification Agency goes to identify such communities at no cost. They go and deliver alternative energy to them, and those people, you heard that guy who said we now make more money, unlike before when we were
spending on diesel.
Yes, we now make more money because this is cheap, it is clean, no pollution, no noise. You won't even know that something is working. You just see light. So is something, especially at this time, government has to support this agency of government so that it can take its efforts to all the nooks and crannies of our country, so that our people who do not have money to buy petrol, to pump water in their rice fields. You know, rice now, you need to regularly constantly pump water. So if they have electricity in such production sites, they will be able to produce a lot more. These are the things that we are saying. So I just want to commend REA for what they are doing, and they need to realize that there is still a lot more to do to reach all of those our communities that are underserved.
Even not rural communities alone. If I have access to this, as somebody that's in the urban center in the country, if I have access to this kind of power supply, I don't need my disco.
National grid.
Yeah, I don't understand. What will I be doing if I'm a guy
at 500
honestly
naira per liter? You see, you have to commend the Rural Electrification Agency. You know, and I believe it's one of the agencies of government there that are basically underreported. They're silently working, and you know, the little we have seen of what they have done and what they've done on the universities is highly commendable.
I think they need to be more funded.
31 hospitals provided electricity.
Yes, so I think government should look into how they can enhance the activities of this agency, you know, to ensure that they do more.
I think at the last,
because these are ways
they said over 60%.
Yeah,
these are not in the national.
When we are talking about food insecurity or food security, it is one of the ways to ensure that we have adequate food supply in the country. Because if we ensure that these communities are able to produce optimally, there's no way it won't have any effect on the economy or the people. You know, so it's very important for government to look into this area. But we should not also forget that even in the rural, in the urban area, we are still having problems with electricity.
Yes.
Not everywhere, you know. And so government has a lot to do. For example, there are only different alternative sources of energy that could be tapped into. Apart from the hydroelectric energy, solar energy, geothermal energy, nuclear energy, wind energy, and biomass energy. All these ones, they are areas that government should. But I believe that basically in Nigeria today, what we have always done is hydro. And we are not, gas, you know. So exploited. We are not exploiting all these things. Yes. For example, a country like Paraguay, alternative source of energy is about 90% of the source of energy. So they are not worried about this green gas emission that will affect pollution. You know. So these are areas we should try and explore as a country.
You know, I was when I was doing some research about this Rural Electrification Agency, I saw that since 2020, they have delivered power to 1.5 million households.
Really?
And 7.5 million persons in those
rural.
Yes. It has also delivered 130 mini grid projects, you know. And during that period, they provided solar street lights stretching 1,650 kilometers. So, as he said earlier, REA is doing a lot of work that Nigerians are barely even hearing about. There are agencies of government that they don't do 1/10 of what Ahmad and his people are doing, and there's so much noise in the media. Noise without substance. We have to help them to fulfill their mandate.
The government will fund them more.
Government will fund them. Even the support from donor agencies will come when they can see that you are doing so much work and Nigerians are happy. I'm happy to see Nigerians confess that, oh, since you people brought this light, we're able to produce more fish and all that, like what we saw in the Djibouti. You can imagine businesses happy. Yes, you can imagine businesses that will have died.
Yes.
On account of powers of
Babas. Another Baba. You know,
how much do they get?
Exactly.
When they
yes, what will be left? That will be on. And if you price your services too much, people will stay away.
No, people will just
stay away. They start cutting their hair by themselves. You know? So, with the support of REA to businesses, especially in those business hubs, maybe there's a location near your house where they produce gari, and that place has been there for so long. But those women are complaining that with the coming of, with the rising price of petrol, we are facing so much this kind of support. Those are the kind of places that we need REA to intervene. And they are saying that as part of national poverty reduction and growth strategies, 50,000 locations in rural areas, including schools and micro businesses, have been already provided with alternative energy. In my town, for example, the church, they had to do solar. It cost them 10 million. And when they were the company that helped them to build it, they were owing the company some money. So you know how it usually happens when you go home and you are doing Thanksgiving. Church will mention what they want. And they said, look, we are still owing 1 million. We had to come together, and say, okay, let's defray this cost. They are happy now. You won't hear any sound, and they have light. There is an airport in India that is run 24 hours on solar energy. Wow. There is a lot, Nigeria, especially in somewhere around Jamari in Bauchi State. Someone said it's probably the hottest part of Nigeria. We have sufficient sunlight. So we need to take the work of REA to all the corners of our country. And I know that we have a president that listens. We have a president now that doesn't joke with all of them because he knows it will impact on his desire to see GDP of our country grow. This is how to get the GDP of our country to grow. Stimulate production in every part, whether it's in the Koleo or Ekiti, wherever people are into serious production.
Especially with the breaking down of this, the regulation of this power sector.
Yes.
So we don't all have to be.
Of course. We don't all have
let everybody.
These are all these
states, local government,
connected national grid.
No, they're not. Yeah.
These are off-grid projects that they are delivering. You know, when I was that in my interview with the immediate past CMD of Luth, when I was doing the documentary, he said 1 second of the day now, they don't experience electricity
because they need it. The critical sector.
They have it. They have it now. You go to Luth, they have alternative energy. That's what they have. You know,
as you can conducting the operation at any given
anytime, and all those schools. I'm just happy. Go to Bayero University. You just see those solar panels occupying a wide area.
That's good.
You know, so they can REA can actually help us to bridge that electricity supply gap, and they are doing it. All we can do is continue to support them and encourage government to pay attention to what they are doing and give them that support, because it is when they get that support they can do a lot more. So this is well done to REA once again.
That's a little bit there. I want to thank you, Bolaji Tunji, for this edition of Journalist Hangouts, and Babajide Kolade Toju. Thank you for another 120 minutes. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight by 11:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. See you tomorrow by 5 p.m.
Lagos is the most visited state in Africa as the 5th largest economy on the continent. Covering the state and its government is no mean feat, it's a busy beat. We go beyond the curtain of tapes to travel in far into the deep.
I want to thank the Lagos state government